is Father Vogel. We continue our series on St. Francis de Sales' Introduction to the Devout Life. We are in part 3, looking at the virtues, and we're in a section of chapters looking specifically at friendship. Previous chapter we looked at true or genuine friendship, and before that we looked at examples of false friendships. And so in this chapter he's going to look at some more differences between true and false friendships so that we can discern the difference between them. So he says to be wary of being drawn into false friendships. We must be on our guard against being deceived by these friendships. This is especially so when they are formed between persons of different sex, under whatever pretext it may be, because very often Satan misleads those who love. They begin by virtuous friendship, but if they are not very prudent, frivolous friendship will mingle with it, then sensual love, and next carnal love. So when it comes to friendship, even good friendships, if we're not wary, we can allow them to progress to a friendship that is not good. And so I've seen cases where even people that desire to follow God in holiness have formed some kind of friendship that seems to be based off of virtue and trying to help one another grow in Christ. A friendship that is maybe not a spouse, but of someone of the opposite sex, and over time it grows into something that becomes not good for either of those who are in it. So we must be careful to be able to discern, what is good and what is bad. So he looks in a couple different areas to kind of compare and contrast the two. So for example, in the area of speaking, he says that false friendships generally produce a great flow of honeyed words, passionate, charming, flattering little expressions, and praises drawn from beauty, gracefulness, and essential qualities. So if we speak to the other person kind of in a flattering kind of way, in a way that's complimenting them, almost manipulative could be in cases, those are going to be false relationships. But a true friendship has a simple, frank language. It praises only virtue and the grace of God, the sole foundation on which it rests. So instead of praising one another and making each other feel good, one praises the gifts of God that is being manifest through a relationship, and then ultimately He is the one at the center. There is going to be a truth, a humility about both the good and the bad as we progress in the life of God. Then it comes to a kind of contact, especially physical contact. And false friendships provoke dizziness of spirit, which make persons waver in chastity and devotion, concerned with outward appearance and contact. So in false friendships, it can remain very exterior. If it's the case of moving towards being more of a sexualized kind of love, then that can lead towards contact, which can be contrary to chaste love. But it can be within the case of where it has nothing to do with that, but in which it's external, trying to use the other person for something. Whereas holy friendships, true friendships, has only simple and modest eyes, no caresses except pure and sincere, no sighs except for heaven, no intimacies except that of the Spirit. So true friendships aren't going to be on the level of the physical, but are going to, are sharing something much deeper with each other, something in the spiritual realm, and they are going to avoid those kind of physical aspects that could lead us away from God. In the area of knowledge, that's the term that I call it, for false friendships, they think that they're doing well when they are doing evil. They believe that their excuses, pretexts, and words are quite reasonable. So there's a kind of falsity in the way that they understand themselves, but at the same time, too, there is going to be this kind of movement to even hide their relationship at times from others, because there is still this sense in there that they know that something's not quite right, and if somebody else saw them doing this, then there would not be approval. Hiding this relationship from a spouse, from family, it's a very bad sign. that this is a false relationship. But true and holy friendship has clear-sighted eyes, does not hide itself, and willingly appears before good people. So true friendships, they can see the truth about who they are, and if there's any tendency that could lead them to danger. But there's no fear of showing forth that to others. Others know that there is a friendship there, and they know that it's one that is, there's nothing wrong going on there. A spouse knows about it, a family member knows about it. And then a final area is in the area I call kind of the fruits, what's coming out of this. In false friendships, responds to refusals with insults, calumnies, deceptions, sadness, confusions, and jealousies. So if one person within the friendship wants to, maybe move down a path that the other isn't prepared for, then that can arouse these kind of negative responses, sadness, jealousies. There's some deceiving one another or deceiving others as part of this. But the fruits of true friendship, there's always honesty, politeness, and an amiability. So you can see the good fruits, the virtues coming out of this relationship. So obviously by its fruits we will know them, and so that's one of the ways in which we can tell whether or not this friendship is healthy, is by what fruits. Is it leading me to holiness, or is it leading me away from God, away from relationships with others? And it can be helpful too to ask for the insight of those on the outside, because like we said, our own knowledge of our situation when it comes to false friendships, we don't always know that clearly. But others looking from the outside can help us discern. So we want to be able to know the difference between false and true friendships. We'll continue in the next chapter looking at some final counsels having to do, or some more counsels having to do with friendship. God bless.